from the Adamas University LinkedIn page, they have also shared. Just now, I told them to share it on Friday. Nonetheless, they just shared. I said, it's going to start at 7. If you can kindly share now, at least before the program starts. So they have shared.
So you did a sort of, you said you did a wrong PR move. You set the expectations too high. I'm really not going to reach there. So.
No. The expectations are supposed to be at that level because just one second.
Sure.
Second. Just one second.
Sure. Take your time.
So, some proper. So, dear students and dear colleagues, faculty members of School of Media and Communication, in our series called Leaders Speak, we try to invite industry and academia experts who are extremely established in their own field, and we try to request them to share their thoughts and ideas in their various fields of expertise. And as a part of that series, we have Professor Dr. Sufyan Baksh, and Sufya is a good friend of mine for a very long time, and therefore we, just before the recording was on, we were just chit-chatting about the things. Dr. Sufya is also a member of the advisory board of SOMC. So thank you, Professor Sufya, for your thought, for your insights, and for your support to the School of Media and Communication. So let me formally introduce Professor Sufya to the students. Professor Sufyan Baksh is a professor in the Communication and Media Department at the University of Scranton, where he is also Director of Social Media Strategies, Business Communications, CAS, MBA programs. He has completed a postdoctoral program in Marketing and Management from University of Florida, Warrington College of Business Administration, and a PhD in Integrated Marketing Communication and Research from Texas Tech University. He holds a certification in Digital Transformation, AI, Cryptocurrency, MIT, from MIT Sloan School of Business. He has an MBA in International Business and Entrepreneurship from RIT and MBA in Marketing from Bombay University. He is a board member of Wahid Invest Inc. since 2014 and has worked for Lilopinion PR, Bombay, India, for 4 years, in addition to spending more than 10 years in international marketing and finance. His research in marketing, communication, digital transformation, etc., is published in several internationally renowned peer-reviewed journals. He has presented at leading national and international conferences. So he is from the industry. He has, the academic erudition, and therefore he's the right mix to share his thoughts on PR in the digital age. So I will hand it over to you, Sufya, and students, please take notes. Whatever question you have, please write it in the chat box. Dr. Shunayan will be moderating the session and taking your questions at the end. I am sure faculty as well as students will have your questions, so please give them in the chat box. Dr. Shunayan will moderate the same. So over to you, Suf. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mahul. Mahul is as he mentioned, really good friend of mine, and I'm honored to be here. I hope I can sort of live up to the high expectations he set for me. I have studied a lot because, when my father used to ask me, why do you keep studying? I said, it's easier than working. I kept studying. And now I teach. I have a little bit of corporate experience. I continue to sort of, I head global marketing for Wahid Invest, which is a new digital investment bank. And so I sort of try to keep my my credentials current, just so that I can do a better job for them. Essentially, in my day job, I am a professor. I teach in the College of Arts and Sciences in the Media and Communication department. And I also teach in the business school, where I teach management and economics. So I have, I try to do my best to sort of, as I was talking to Mahul earlier, put the fish back in the ocean. I try to give back as much as I can. So I'm really thankful for having this opportunity. Now, just a quick couple of questions. I don't know if Dr. Sunaya or Dr. Mahul will be able to let me know. The participants, who are these participants? Like, generally, are these students in PR? Are they all types of students? Like, if I can get a little bit of a background about the students who are here, so I'll be able to tailor things more to them.
Yeah. Hi. So basically, it's an eclectic mix of students from all different disciplines under communication. There are students from MBA in communication management, which I think directly falls under your domain. Then there are students, graduation students from media and communication. There are students from BSc in media technology. There are students from journalism, both in the undergraduate and postgraduate section. And there are students of film and television as well. So it's basically an eclectic mixture of all different students from different media branches.
Okay, thank you. And also one last thing, Dr. Sunayan, if you can please allow me to share my screen.
Sure, sure.
I cannot. Okay, thank you. So what I have prepared is a very quick presentation. I believe more in interaction and discussion. I think there's a lot more to learn from there. A couple of things before I begin. You have to understand that I've been in America for like 21 years now. And although I'm aware of things that happen in India, but I don't know the granular levels of the PR industry. So there might be some differences, although I've tried to keep my presentation more on a conceptual level so that it sort of applies to India as well as America. But feel free to talk to me. I mean, this presentation would be a lot better with discussion. So if you want to send your questions, in chat to Dr. Sunayan, or if you want to just speak out, that's fine too. One of the things that I always, when I was a student, I used to see PowerPoints where professors would say, you should do this, you should do that. And it all sounds really good, but I always asked myself, how do I do that? That was my bigger sort of concern. So in the same way, I'm also going to be talking about things that happen, things that you should do. But at any point you feel like I'm not really delivering on the how to do it, please, feel free to ask.
Suf, can you check if you are able to share?
Yeah, I'll just check. Yes, yeah. I can share. Thank you.
Okay.
So can you see my screen? Yes, all right, beautiful. Okay, so I am going to be presenting, and I'm looking at my screen. I'm going to minimize you guys, so if there is any visible interaction, I will not be able to see it. So please, you can raise your hand and I'm able to see it, or if you chat, I can see that. So, all right. So the topic for today is public relations in the digital world. This is a massive topic. It is something that can, in fact, I teach a whole course on PR in a digital world. So I try to sort of condense it and present to you sort of the more important things. Now, also, once my presentation is over and we are done for the day, please don't feel like this is the end of our relationship. If you want to email me, I will put my email in the chat box, or Dr. Mahul has all my contact information, and I'm happy to help you guys in any which way. Dr. Mahul's students are my students. He is a friend of mine, so anything you guys need, happy to help you. So this is me. Let's move to the overview. So today, like I said, I'll be touching on the more important parts of digital communication and then public relations in a digital world. So we'll begin with communication in the digital world, how communication has sort of changed or evolved. Then we'll talk about the 4 zones of social media. Some of you, I think, are marketing students or MBA students, so you've all heard about the 4 Ps of marketing: product, price, place, promotion. So today, I'll introduce you to the 4 zones of social media. Then we'll talk about social media PR, which is a large, if not the sort of the dominating part of digital public relations. And then we'll talk about 5 pro tips for people who want to do digital PR. And finally, we'll speak about evaluation and measurement, which is a very important part. We'll touch upon all the sort of steps of the PR process, research, planning, execution, and evaluation. But when it comes to digital media or digital PR, evaluation and measurement take on a whole different role. They are easier. So we'll talk about that for a bit. So one of the main things that I can talk about in terms of communication in a digital world is that first, it's instantaneous. It happens all the time. It happens in real time. When I started working, now I'm dating myself, telling you about my age. I started working in the late 90s in public relations back in India. I used to work for Lin Opinion in Bombay. And something would happen, especially if there was like a crisis or something negative. We would have until the next news cycle to sort of deal with it or to plan. So we had the sort of luxury of time when it came to dealing with issues, good or bad, because we knew the newspapers would come out at like 8 in the morning. We knew the first news programs would start in the morning. But now it's 24/7, and with social media, it is more than 24/7. It's multiple channels, multiple sources all the time, cell phone cameras and all that stuff. So communication is instantaneous. It is also cross-border. So you can do something in Japan and have a problem with it in America. So it's not that it is now limited to a sort of geographical location. It's constant and dynamic. It's always changing. You see one sort of narrative which takes on its own life and starts changing. Sometimes the same sort of story is good, turns to bad. I mean, if you look at the Ukraine war, many countries, many people look at it from different perspectives, and it's constantly changing. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're on the bottom. So you have to sort of be prepared for that. You have to be prepared, and it is visible. Like I said, there is no borders when it comes to digital communication. Everybody can see it. Even if you don't see it, there are algorithms out there in social media, in digital media, in news media, which sort of will show you information that is relevant to you. So the visibility part is also changed a lot. The other thing that's happened to information when it comes to Web 2.0 or Web 3.0, like social media and things like that, is that there is no real sort of borders between content creators and content consumers, right? Earlier, when the internet was brand new, we're talking about the 90s again, you had content creators who were generally the traditional content creators from brick and mortar models taking over the internet. So CNN had CNN.com, AOL had AOL.com, and they were sort of the ones that controlled the information. Web 2.0 started with a website called Friendster, where the sort of main distinguishing part of Web 2.0 from 1.0 is UGC, or user-generated content. So now users were able to see content. I mean, think about when you watch TV. 100% of the time that you're watching television, you're watching content that's been created by professional content creators, producers, directors, movie studios, all those things. But when you watch YouTube, you are essentially watching content, or you're consuming content that's been created by your peers, by people like you. If you watch an Instagram video, I don't know if you have access to TikTok in India, but all that content is being created by average, regular people. So everyone has access to information. We don't need the sort of physical infrastructure that we needed for things like telephones and computers. Now, mostly, all the digital infrastructure is wireless. So people have access to information all over the place. then like I said before, the lines between content consumers and content creators have blurred in a big way, right? I mean, even if you watch CNN, in America at least, they have sections where they show content that's created by average people. So it's like, hey, this is what was caught on a cell phone camera, or this is what somebody is reporting, or they will mention tweets that are coming out of, especially when there are sort of some breaking news kind of things. If there's a shooting, or if there's a problem at an airport or something like that, they will rely on average people to sort of be the sort of carriers of content and carriers of music. Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry. I think someone unmuted himself or herself.
That's fine. And then credibility. This is another big change that's happened. We used to have faith in media. We used to have faith in content that was created by professional content creators. But now credibility has shifted. The same sort of piece of information, some people might find credible, some people might find not credible. So credibility has shifted. Who we find credible? I mean, we used to consume the news created by people who went to college for journalism or took courses or learned how to do videos and things like that. And we said, okay, we find this person credible because they're the ones who are bringing us the news. And today there are so many news type channels on YouTube and stuff that bring you news, and there's no sort of visible sort of rules, so there are no visible sort of qualifications there, but we still sort of find some people credible, especially when it's self-serving, when it matches the points that we believe in ourselves. So credibility has had this big shift in the news media, which of course affects public relations to a great extent. So we'll talk about PR, we'll talk about activist PR, and we'll talk more about how targeting the right media becomes so important because of the self-serving credibility issue that's come up. And media gatekeepers, which traditionally we mean journalists. So as a PR agency, I used to have to write a press release, send it to, let's say, Times of India. The journalists at Times of India would say, okay, this information does not seem correct, or this information is not important for my readers. So the journalist would not publish it or would not write a story about it. And that was the sort of role of a gatekeeper or information gatekeeper. But today, I don't need that journalist to that extent. I can put it on my Twitter. I can put that same information on my Facebook. I can find influencers, pay them to take that information forward. So the role of media gatekeepers / journalists has diminished to a great extent. All right. So in a digital world, the basics of PR strategy remain the same and as relevant. Right? You're still trying to do the same thing that you did before the advent of the digital world or the sort of growth of digital communication. The idea is basically to present your client in a way that is credible, in a way that is sort of shows your client to be mutually beneficial to all the publics that it's serving. So the basics of PR and the basics of PR strategy remain the same. They just adapted for digital. There's also this rapid movement in digital, right? There's a rapid development of digital properties of social media. And so you have to be more adaptive. You have to be more dynamic. You have to be willing to change very quickly. The major change is the manner in which the technology can be leveraged, and it can be leveraged now to build awareness, which is sort of a traditional target of media. Want to build awareness for your products, for your campaign, for your client. Enhance engagement. This is sort of the difference. In traditional communication, traditional media, there were senders and receivers of message. The media, the professionals were sending you message, you were receiving message. The engagement with the companies was very sort of limited. The engagement of, 1 second. I'm just letting people in. The engagement was limited, which has changed now. Now people can engage with companies, can write to companies, can tweet at companies in a much more sort of enhanced manner than they ever could. Because driving sales, the sort of technology that is used to drive sales is so much more. I mean, if you're using Instagram, for example, you see a post for for some sort of product, and or you see a demonstration video and you really like it, there's the button right there. You press shop now, it takes you to the website, you can buy the thing, it takes you to Amazon, wherever it takes you. So there is, the drive of sales has sort of increased. It's a lot better and a lot more enhanced the way in which you can interact with stakeholders, whether it is your investors, whether it is your publics, whether it's media, you can interact with them. And it's much easier to evaluate and measure the success of your campaign, before, during, after the campaign. And we'll talk about each one of these later. All right. So as I was saying, in marketing, in traditional marketing, you have the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. In social media, there are the 4 zones of social media, right? So any social media is classified as social media when it hits at least one of these zones. Now, most social media hit all 4. So social community is a zone of social media where people can form communities, where they can share, where they can socialize, where they can converse with each other. So that is the social community zone. And in the next slide, we will look at sort of what social media platforms hit which zone, and you'll see most of them hit all zones. Then you have social publishing, which is where companies create content, right? So it's editorial content or commercial content like advertisements, or user-generated content, which is where people are generating their own content, either for a company or for themselves. The third is social entertainment, where people use the social media to get entertained, either playing video games, listening to music, watching videos, art, anything graphic. That's all social entertainment. And social commerce, where you're using social media for commerce. And commerce is not just buying and selling, but also things like customer service management, or writing reviews, or reading reviews, responding to reviews. So it's important to hit at least one of these. You should try to hit more than one zone with any campaign that you're doing in public relations. So here is an example of some of the popular social media vehicles that hit each of these zones. Now, I understand the Google Plus is there, but I have it here because Google Plus used to do this. Now it doesn't exist. But Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn are big when it comes to social community. But there's different types of communities, right? If you have Snapchat, for example, you have a community, but Snapchat, your parents might not have Snapchat. So that's a community of you, for you, your friends. Whereas Facebook might be a community of you, your friends, your family. LinkedIn is a community of professional contacts. So there's different types of communities, but all of these vehicles are allowing you to have that community. Then for social publishing, any place where companies or people can publish material. So some examples like blogger.com or Technocracy, these are people, or these are websites that allow you to publish something. YouTube, Piggyback, SmugMug, these are all examples of social media sites that allow people to publish content. Then you have entertainment, which is straight up games or listening to music or watching videos, commenting. All those things come under social entertainment. MySpace still exists, by the way. So yes, I have MySpace out there. And social commerce. Now, social commerce, there are different types of social commerce. You have Facebook, which sort of allows you, there's a Facebook marketplace, which allows you to conduct business on Facebook. Or you have Instagram, where you don't conduct business on Instagram, but rather you can click out of Instagram and go and conduct business, but it is enabling that. On the other hand, if you look at social commerce as a customer relationship management sort of platform, that is, Twitter is big, Instagram is big, where you can actually manage customers. If a customer sort of complains on your website, you can take care of those complaints. But always remember, when you're doing customer relationship management, either through customer complaints or customer feedback, or through customer reviews, that's a very visible place where it's happening. So it's not just between you and your customer. If, for example, today, I buy a refrigerator and the refrigerator does not work very well, I make a phone call to LG and I say, hey, my refrigerator is not working. Whatever happens between us is between me and LG. However, if I do the same thing through Twitter, if I if I tweet at LG and I say that, hey, my refrigerator is not working, how they manage that request or manage that problem is more important than on the telephone, because there are other users who can see this interaction that's happening between me and LG. So you have to be extremely careful. All right. So what is digital public relations? It is online placement of not purchased, just like advertising is purchased, PR is not purchased, typically obtained by influencing media producers. So the idea of digital public relations is extremely simple. You are placing content that sort of helps you, that is part of your public relations campaign, which is published for free. Now, there is, of course, you can pay influencers and things, so there is a payment model there, but most of it is still derived from free publicity through the media, which is your traditional producers of content and non-traditional or individuals, right? So all of that becomes digital public relations. What are the benefits of digital public relations? It's essentially the same, minus one or two things, as traditional public relations. It creates brand recognition. It establishes credibility. It makes your brand more credible. Drives traffic to your either to your business side of your digital platforms, like for example, it drives traffic, either traffic through your social media sites, or it drives traffic out of your social media sites onto your e-commerce sites. So people see your content, like your content, interact or engage with your content, and then bounce out to your website and buy products, or write a review or something like that. Improve search engine optimization and social media search optimization. So that is big, right? The more your presence you have on your own owned properties, your own digital properties, and the more you're mentioned and linked to, the higher you'll place in Google search. So if more people are talking about you, that's one of the big things that impacts your rankings on social media. So the more successful you are in digital PR on digital properties, the more it'll impact your rankings on search engines, so which is big. And even if it's search engines within social media platforms. So for example, you're on Facebook and you go to search for, travel agency. If there are many people talking about your particular travel agency, that will rank much higher than others. So that obviously is a very good thing, because most people start e-commerce from a search engine. Finally, it's great for brand image and sales. Obviously, that is the sort of big part of traditional PR as well as digital PR. You do want to impact your brand image as well as you want to drive sales.
And dear students, it is earned media. Just keep in mind it is earned media. So there is a distinction between earned media and owned media and paid media. So it's earned media. It is something that is generated through your efforts. What people are talking about.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
absolutely.
Supa, I just wanted to
No, that's absolutely. In fact, I'm getting to that in the next slide, but absolutely correct. When we talk about digital PR.
Dear students, Shukarna, please, mute yourself.
The sort of important part of digital PR is earned media, which is other people talking about you. Yes, you talking about yourself is great, but if you're not getting engagement out of it, obviously that's going to be a problem, or your content is not good enough. So you need to rethink your content. There are three types of placements that you can have on your own properties to help with your digital PR efforts. One is feature stories, or anything that has to do with news of the brand, whether it's announcement, whether it's something with human interest. Now, when it comes to social media, you're always better served to have human interest. People are not really seeking out or expecting straight up hard news or hard corporate news on social media. They're looking for more of the human angle. So that's why we talk about feature stories. And as you might know, feature stories tend to be stories that are that take out the timeliness of news, but add the human interest part of news. So feature stories that have to do with news, but are more long lasting, that are not like breaking news. Breaking news, you still want to publish on social media, on digital media, but also target traditional media for breaking news about your companies. So feature stories is one way to have placements in your own properties and to have it engaged and have it placed in other properties. Expert mentions, so where other people are talking about you, especially if they tend to be experts or influencers. So that's, we sort of bundle them all together. So this is when other people who are important, this is again part of the earned media, are mentioning either whatever you are placing on your own website or mentioning you in a positive light in any which way. And then you have content that you create. So for example, there's sort of three major types of content that companies can create. One is called hero content, H-E-R-O, like hero. You have hygiene content, which is sort of your basic content, and filler content. So you can have all three, but you should at least have some hero content. So what I mean by hero content is content that makes you the sort of market leader, or at least there's a perception that you know most about this particular topic. So for example, here in America, there is a big chain of stores called Home Depot. Home Depot is a massive store. It's all over the country. It's like hundreds of locations around the country. And they sell things for home improvement. You know, you can get things like, you know, you're looking for plywood, or you're looking for screws, screwdrivers, lawnmowers, anything that you need to improve your home or even build a home. So Home Depot, on their YouTube, they have a YouTube channel where they get industry experts to have these little training videos. So if you want to, you know, in America, one of the big problems is you have to do everything on your own. You know, so supposing, you know, I want to paint my room, I don't really know much about painting my room. So I will go to the Home Depot channel and I will, you know, look, they'll have some videos about painting your own room, where there'll be some expert who will teach me how to pick colors, how to, you know, what kind of things do I need, what kind of tools do I need. And they'll have it all linked into Home Depot website. So I'll click a button and it'll take me and I can buy all those things through the website. That is hero content, because that makes you appear to be the industry leader. Now, the good thing about digital is when you go from a sort of traditional brand to a digital brand, in a digital brand, you get a clean slate. You can sort of recreate your brand image. So now Home Depot is a massive company. They started from like, you know, a massive company. They went digital. So they were leaders here. They remain leaders here. But another company, which is in the auto parts business. So in America, there is several companies that sell auto parts. You know, you want a radiator, you want something, and you can go there and buy it. So in the auto parts business, there was a company called AutoZone, which was massive, which was the market leader. But a little company over here called Pep Boys, which is much smaller than AutoZone, when they went digital, they created a lot of hero content. So when you poll people now and ask them, what do you think is the market leader when it comes to auto parts, they always say Pep Boys rather than AutoZone, although AutoZone is bigger. But online, they're all equal. So depends on the content that you create, your perception changes. The same thing happened with Wendy's. Wendy's is a chain. I'm sure I think it's in India, like McDonald's and Burger King. And Wendy's was one of the smaller chains. But when they went digital, they created a Twitter account and they started hiring professional comedians. And what they used to do is put tweets where they used to go after their competitors. So they would put an ad for McDonald's and which would say, you know, $5 hamburger. And they would say, you know, we are better. And they would crack a joke at McDonald's and things. And they would really roast these companies, their brands, their competing brands. And today, when you see research results, most young people find that Wendy's is the market leader. Non-existent company to young people, especially. Young people used to like McDonald's, they used to like Chick-fil-A, but now young people tend to go to Wendy's because digitally they overtook these other companies. So your content that you create can really change the perception of the kind of company that you are. So there's hero content, then you have hygiene content. Hygiene content is just creating content which might not be extremely helpful, but it keeps you relevant. You know, you do a little competition of people putting pictures of the best furniture they made or something like that. So that's hygiene content. And then you have filler content. Filler content is content that you repurpose. So you can retweet other people's content, or you can just find some interesting news articles, or you find some interesting videos on YouTube and retweet or sort of publicize them. That becomes your filler content. You need all three types. Because you can't only have hero, because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, takes a lot of effort to create hero content. but you cannot have a digital property that is not coming out with content on a regular basis. So you need all three types of content to be relevant. Okay, so the next is what Dr. Mahul was talking about, which is the three types of corporate social media. You have owned, paid, and earned. Owned media is whatever digital properties that are under your control, whatever content which is in your control. Extremely important. This sort of leads, this is sort of where it all starts. You create tweets, you create videos, you create whatever you want to create to sort of set up a brand image, or to sort of project a brand image, create perceptions. Next is paid media, which is your social media advertising or digital advertising. Now, you have to understand that according to research, that whenever a company posts some organic posts on their social media platforms, only 20% of its followers really see it. And this is what research has found. That means I have, 100,000 followers on my website. And if I post a really good video, only 20,000 are seeing it in all, because in many cases, you'll have people who have a lot of friends, who have a lot of things going on. So the timeline keeps getting higher and higher. So your post gets lost in that timeline. So owned media, as important as it is, doesn't mean that it'll reach all your followers. So that's where you come to paid media, which is your advertisements, your promoted posts. Now the good thing is that paid media on social media is a lot more cost effective than traditional advertising, like television advertising or newspaper advertising even. So paid media on social is not a bad idea. Do not shy away from it. It is completely worth it because the targeting is so accurate. The targeting is, the algorithms know so much about users that you can get the right message in front of the right people with the right impact. And it's very easy to measure the sort of impact of that targeting, right? If you pay, I don't know how much, the charges are in India. In America, for example, a Facebook post in front of 10,000 people costs less than $500. It gets to 10,000 targeted people. You can target up to 4 demographics. So you can go with gender, you can go with age, you can go with location. So you can target people really well, and then it'll give you the analytics. It'll tell you how many people actually went and purchased, how many people actually engaged, how many people liked, followed. So paid media, do not shy away from it. It is not the same as traditional advertising. It is extremely important. So paid media is important, especially to get important content from your own media in front of your followers, or even followers. Finally, the most important form of digital media is earned media. Earned media is when other people, without getting paid for it, are talking about you and your content, right? Supposing there are many people I see when I go to restaurants now, they'll bring out some food and they'll take pictures of the food and they'll put it on their Instagram. That is free advertising. That is earned media. That is word of mouth or word of mouth that's happening on your behalf without you having to pay anybody. So many restaurants now are hiring chefs who have to have that additional training in making food look more presentable, right? Adding more things to that food to make it more presentable, adding more accessories around it, because they want that earned media. And that happens in many ways. Firstly, obviously, creating content that is easy to share, creating content that people want to engage with and to share, having those buttons on your content, press a button and you can share it, press a button, you can like it, press a button, you can comment on it. All that becomes part of earned media, which is sort of the gold standard of PR. So if you don't have good content on your own media, you will not get a lot of earned media. So earned media is the goal. However, to reach that goal, you have to have the right own media and even paid media for that matter. If something is in front of me, I'm more likely to share it. But if it is never in front of me, I might never share it. So engagement is owned media, and engagement is the most critical part of digital PR, social media PR. Content is king. You hear this all the time. So absolutely true. the kind of content you have makes you, the brand that you are, it gives you the perception that you want to create. So slick looking digital properties are useless without good content. You can have the best, website, you can have the best designers, best architects create, best social media websites. But if you don't have good content, if you don't have content that is interactive, if you don't have content that's something that people want to share, something that people want to associate with, it's not going to be successful. You have to create interesting content with good language, because that's a big, when you do research, especially of journalists, when you talk about, there's some research out there about journalists that talk about how they don't share or they don't deal with content when they see grammatical errors or language errors and things like that. So language is extremely important, because remember, the gatekeepers have gone to school and are really good at language. So they don't want to be associated with things. And these are little things, but they can go a long way to sort of have a negative impact on your campaign. Good images, links to external sites, all of this is important in creating good content. There are sort of 4 types, major types. Obviously, there are hundreds of types, but 4 major types of content. Articles, like I said, news, features, anything which is part of your company's announcements becomes your articles, right? You also have pictures, graphics, infographics. There are a lot of resources out there that will help you make, for free, really good infographics. If you guys know about Canva, C-A-N-V-A, Canva helps you, make these amazing artistic infographics that can really present information to people in a more digestible manner. It makes information much easier to sort of share. For example, 2-3 days ago, I think last week sometime, Dr. Mahul, WhatsApped me the image of my presentation. Obviously, I have the beard now, but of the presentation. It was really cool. Instead of having a write-up, or instead of me telling my dad, hey dad, listen, I'm being talked, I just forwarded that infographic or that graphic to my father, and asked him for some money. So it is much easier for people to digest information, understand information, and engage with that information if it is available in graphic form. Videos are a great way to get audience engagement, to keep people entertained, to keep people informed, to give some sort of value back to your consumers. And finally, downloadable documents. You can have brochures, owner manuals, demonstrations, newsletters, press releases. Make these downloadable, so that if a journalist is looking through your content, or a person is looking through your content, and let's say they don't want to deal with it now, but they should be able to save it. So in the future, they can use it as well. Now, one of the sort of pro tips for that is, when you're creating these documents, make sure the document names are not default, that you go and spend some time on that document name, because once it's saved on somebody's computer, they're not going to go and open every document that's saved on the computer. The document name itself should reveal what the document is about. That way they have easier access to it. Content that you create needs to educate, entertain, and engage. Content must be shareable. So you have to either educate, either entertain, either engage. I mean, engagement is required for everything, but either educate or entertain. And you can do both. You can be educational while entertaining people. It's not a mutually exclusive thing that you can only do one or the other. So content has to be, you have to have the people who are watching your content, the users that are interacting with your content, be able to engage with it, be able to like it, share it, things like that. And several resources are available to help making attractive and engaging content. If you've not done so yet, and if you want to have a life in media, in communication, please visit Canva. Like I said, it's a free resource. You can pay for the more advanced features, but I have been using the free features for a very long time, and they're absolutely appropriate. There's nothing lacking really, and play around with it. So by the time you graduate, you have enough experience with Canva that can be a line on your resume. All right, now we'll get to the more sort of nitty-gritties. And these are some pro tips, some 5 essentials of digital PR that you need to keep in mind when you are either doing an exclusive digital public relations campaign, or if you're taking a traditional media campaign and moving it to a digital world. The first is, of course, the press release needs to be reimagined, right? So if you go and Google social media press release, you'll see how the press release has evolved. It is, I know the way we are taught to write a press release, you need to have a headline. The first paragraph has to have the most important information. Then you do the inverted pyramid kind of a thing. That's all fine. But on social media, on digital media, things change, right? People don't have time to read paragraphs. The latest research I was reading, and of course this is American, so it might be a little different from India, but not widely different, right? So traditionally, we're talking about early 2000s. People used to spend about 20 seconds on a website before they decided whether they want to stay there or no. Then now in 2015, that number came down to 6 seconds. So within 6 seconds, people decide. On social media, it's 2 seconds. So on social media, people spend all of 2 seconds, right? So they don't have time to read your press release. So the press release is now reimagined, right? You have to have a headline, bullet points, videos, links, things like that. So the press release is extremely important. It continues to be an extremely important tool. Hang on 1 second, I'm getting a call, I apologize. It continues to be one of the most important tools in the PR arsenal. If you want to build publicity, press releases still are the #1 choice. But digital technologies have created new ways of creating compelling press releases. Some of the important developments in digital press releases. One is, of course, you have to have the right keywords, because your press release should be easy to find through search engine optimization or social media search optimization, right? You need to have the right keywords in that document. You have to create captivating headlines, because when somebody searches, or if somebody sees it as an organic post, either through your own properties or through earned properties, they will only be seeing the headline. So you need to have the right headlines without overselling. So having the right headline is extremely important, but don't make it clickbait. Clickbait is when you see a headline which is like, President of America shot, and then you see that there's somebody taking a picture. So no, you don't want to do that, because then people will stop finding your information credible. So the key, captivating headlines, but without going too deep into the over-promising territory. Then you have releases must show up on important websites, not just your own, but important blogs, social media accounts, influencer websites, publications, tweets. So it's not just you put it on your Facebook and you wait. You have to actively market your press releases. Many times you need to pay social media to get those press releases in front of the right people. You need to have, just like in traditional media, you have a list of journalists. You need to have a list of influencers. You need to have a list of influencers by target audience, by topics. So you can target those influencers. And influencers are happy to share, because remember, it's a two-way street. They are also looking for content. They also cannot be creating content on a daily basis. So if your content gels well with their content, they'll publish it. So, but it's your job to do the research to find those people. Release must contain links to rich and related content. So you have your press release, your bullet point press release, and it needs to have a social media tag. It needs to have a YouTube tag. So the more rich content you create and link to your press release, a couple of things happen. One is your press release has more impact. It has a higher impact where it comes to traditional media, where it comes to regular people. Also, when you create a press release with different tags, then you can appeal to a wide variety of people. I don't like to read, but I like to watch videos. So I'll just click the YouTube video part of it. So there is more engagement that can happen. It's easier to share when it is available with a lot more than just the sort of written press release. Then release must include tools to easily engage. Of course, a release is good, but you need to make it easy for people to retweet, for people to share it on their own Facebook walls or Instagram. So it should have a lot multimedia so that people can pick and choose the media they want to share and make it easy to share any of those media. Second is collaborating with influencers. Influencers are extremely important. They have, to a large extent, replaced celebrities in the digital world. Now, I'm not saying celebrities are not influencers. They definitely are. There are several celebrities who are influencers, but there are many influencers that are not celebrities, right? Or not traditional celebrities. Now, So one of the things that I do when I'm working as a professor is that you do a lot of research, you read a lot of things, but you don't get a lot of practical experience. So thanks to one of my friends, which actually is a very good friend of Mahul and introduced us, Amir Ismail. He is my former boss. I still call him boss. He heads PR for the Lintas Group in India, and he's very well connected to several agencies around the world. So he arranges this for me that once every other year, I go and I work in a PR agency in America. So I'll go to New York, I'll spend 2 weeks over there, I'll get a hotel room and I'll just go to work 9 to 5, just like a normal person, because I want to learn about all the important.
And this is a kind of an industry internship that we are also planning for our faculty members. A week of internship, that all the faculty members should kind of engage in, because it's
I'm
what you're
telling you,
saying
Mahul,
of extreme importance. Yeah.
That helps me more than all my research. That 2 weeks
absolutely.
that I spend gives me more information than everything, because I see what's happening today, So I think that's a great idea.
I have also managed to send the students to industry internship, to PR agency and other corporates. So we are trying to organize more. So the students also give a fantastic feedback in terms of, say we had the KIFF, which is Kolkata International Film Festival. So our students were there. We had the Bengal Global Summit. Our students were there. So these kind of gives them a kind of very practical perspective of what the real life is. And Amir definitely is a wonderful person and a great friend of ours, a common friend. And he actually was the one to connect me and Sue.
He introduced us, absolutely.
He introduced us. So he's a wonderful, very helpful person and extremely well connected. He heads Lintas Live now. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and faculty members, I would like want them to take note that we should organize something. There is actually a policy which is not very effective, but I think I should kind of put some more effort into being that, given your feedback that a week of internship in the industry is extremely potent and essential for all the academicians.
And one of the things, like when I was getting my PhD at Texas Tech, now Texas Tech, the mass communication program is the 4th best in the world. It's a really high-end program. And our dean over there, now he retired, but his name was Jerry Hudson. So when he used to hire new faculty, and most in America, I'm sure that in India as well, most faculty are hired the year before they're going to start. So if they're going to start in the fall, which is like September, they are hired latest by like January, February of that year. So if a faculty member had only a master's and a PhD and no work experience, one of the things in their contract was for 2 months, they had to go, there were agencies in New York he had contracts with, they had to work in those agencies for 2 months. They couldn't teach in our program if they did not have work experience. So that was wonderful, because all these people would come now. You've studied all these things. Now he had contracts with these agencies because they were all run by people that had graduated from tech, so he had really good relations. But it's not a bad idea, because I see the difference that I have from other faculty members who don't do that. I've been trying to promote this, and only one faculty member really took advantage. I got them fixed up with Mullen Low in New York, but it helps me so much. And one of the things that I sort of learned from that was the management of influencers. Now I read a lot about how to manage influencers, but what I saw was, so I was with Colin Harris at that time. This is Amir, Lintas and Colin were partners. So he hooked me up with Colin Harris, and wonderful experiences, Mahul. Like, for example, for one, I went to pitch Amazon Prime account, and I met Jeff Bezos at that time. Just being there, they took me out, they had me present to Jeff Bezos. I had dinner with them. So it was amazing. I think the experience, you cannot beat that, So all thanks to Amir, of course. He's one of the best contacts I've ever had, or best friends I've ever had. So one of the things I learned about influencers is that there was 2 people in the social media team whose job was to scour the internet to find upcoming influencers. So obviously, as a PR agency, you consider influencer somebody having more than 100,000 or 200,000 followers. But these people used to look at, I'll give you an example. So there was this one guy who had only 25,000 followers. He's a young boy, and he was in Chicago at the time. And what he used to do is his whole shtick was, on YouTube, he would take challenges from people and then create videos of those challenges. So we were sitting and watching. So I was spending time with these two young, professionals whose job was to find upcoming influencers. So they look for people who have more than 25,000 people. And they look at the stats, the growth rates and all that stuff. So they find this guy, and he had, one of his challenges was, there's a chain here like McDonald's and stuff called Taco Bell. So somebody had challenged him if he can buy everything on the Taco Bell menu and smuggle it inside a movie theater, because movie theaters, you're not allowed to bring food. So he actually videoed himself buying everything from Taco Bell, the whole menu, and he hid it in his jacket and all. In America, it's very easy to hide things because you all wear like thick jackets and stuff. So he hid everything inside, and he went into the theater and he watched the movie and he ate everything. He had a Mountain Dew drink. Now, Mountain Dew is our client at that time, Golden Harris client. So they reached out to him and they said, hey, great job. We liked it. And, tell us more about, do you like Mountain Dew? And he said, yes, I like Mountain Dew. So they said, okay, from now on for life, free Mountain Dew for you. We'll be sending you 2 cases every month for free. Why? To cultivate him, to have that relationship.
Yes.
Whenever he hits that 100,000 mark, he's one of ours, or he has that relationship with us. So influencers are extremely important because they offer niche audiences, and there's a lot of specificity or specialization of subject matter. Like this guy takes weird challenges. He appeals to young boys. There are products and brands out there that want to be in front of young boys. There you go. So influencers
prior to the digital age, we had the era of editors, and now it is the era of influencers. So earlier it was just a handful of 4 or 5 editors who used to decide everything that the people would read. And my students will not be aware of that, but we have seen that era. I have worked in that era.
Yeah,
Sufa has worked in that era.
Agenda setting era, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked as a senior editor as well as on the corporate communication side. So I've seen that era where just 4 or 5 people in the entire country would set agenda, and that is how the news. And
even PR, they would call us. If we called them, they say, you have something about these topics, we'll take it. Otherwise, we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to cater your press releases and stuff
exactly,
to the topics that was of interest to them.
You have to suit that agenda, that storyline, and things were not in the greatest of things now. So now the world has become much more challenging and expanded a lot with these influencers, and it's the best part is it's a dynamic, challenging world wherein you have people like this gentleman who Suf was talking about in terms of his YouTube is on challenges. He posts challenges. So imagine when he becomes 2.5 billion. Mountain Dew will he will talk about Mountain Dew. When he becomes 25 million, he will keep talking about Mountain Dew. So that is the investment that you're making today with 2 cases of Mountain Dew every month. That is a smart PR, and that's a PR. That's not bought media or paid media.
Yep, absolutely. And this is happening all over. I mean, people do that in the beauty industry, and why not? Because influencers have an authentic connection with their followers. People really like and believe these influencers, and they appeal to people. My wife watches this couple in Canada who just talks about their lives and they do things. I have absolutely no interest. I've tried watching it. It makes no sense to me. She loves it. So it has this different connection with different people, and it's very authentic. She really thinks that they're part of her life. So that's great. So influencer marketing is more cost effective. Although influencers can be expensive, they're way cheaper than celebrities.
Yes.
You get the endorsements are much stronger because of this authentic connection that they have with people.
Because the people who are following them are genuine people. They are not. There is an alignment of interest with the influencer, which is not there with the celebrity. With the celebrities,
like I watch.
You want to watch,
I watched Shah Rukh Khan. He's like endorsing 20 products. I get confused. What underwear should I buy? Is it Shah Rukh Khan or Salman Khan? I don't know. So
And then
it
imagine
becomes,
him endorsing i10, Hyundai, and driving a BMW. I don't
yeah.
know what makes, what sense it makes. I mean,
Actually,
like,
this is such an interesting example that you bring up. The most expensive model in the world was Britney Spears at her peak, where Pepsi signed her up for $100 million for 10 years, which was at that time unheard of. So, and 1 month into it, she was photographed in a restaurant drinking Coca-Cola, and she was fired. So that's exactly what Mahul is saying,
yes.
but an influencer, if they endorse a Hyundai, they will be driving a Hyundai because that's the genuine
Exactly,
connection
because
they have
see,
with
this
Hyundai.
person, the person you're talking about, your wife follows, that person, they actually go to that island and live that lifestyle, and they're actually doing it. There is a genuine authenticity
Genuine,
in which,
absolutely.
if there's a beauty blogger, that beauty blogger is actually using that makeup on her skin. That is the thing. If fashion, they're actually wearing it, and
Yep,
going to a party or doing something. She's not a celebrity or he's not a celebrity, but they're wearing that to a place which is important to them. That is
absolutely,
the authenticity that an influencer carries.
absolutely. So that leads me to my next point. Keep a list of popular and upcoming influencers and detail. It's not just, okay, Sufyan is an influencer, but rather what is his target audience? What are numbers on this date? So it's maintaining a spreadsheet with all this information and track where they're going, and aim for long-term integrated relationships with key influencers rather than one-off campaigns. Now, one of the most popular influencers in the world, is one of the highest sort of paid person on YouTube, is a guy called Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star is this lifestyle, high fashion, drives the best cars and has this great life kind of influencer. But his first relationship, first company to pay him was Taco Bell. So every video, if you go to YouTube and say Jeffree Star videos, in every video ever, he's eating Taco Bell. He's got the quesadilla, little packet, and he walks around eating that all the time. And he says, I don't take money from them. This is just to thank them for being my first supporters. So long-term relationships, and Taco Bell did change from being something that appealed more to middle-aged people to young people because of influencers like this. The third one is nurture a community of people. Now, the big difference between, by the way, Mahul, this is taking a little more than an hour. Is this okay?
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sinha. So loyal and engaged community is ideal sounding board. It's board, it's not board, I'm sorry. For marketing and public relations, if you follow your community, if you see what they're saying on your social media, on review sites, you can really get a lot of ideas. Social media gives the most effective access to this community. It's right there, all your fans and people who don't like you. So it's not just you listen to people who like you, but also see what the complaints are. Sometimes it's a very early indication to big crises in the making. Find the right fan base on the right platforms. So for example, in America, the platform that gives you the best reviews is Amazon. So even though, if I am, Sony cameras and I have my own website, I have my own social media, I should go to Amazon where my products are listed and see what reviews people are writing. So it's not just on your own properties, but other properties as well. Encourage fans to share stories and experiences. Make it easy, encourage them to do it. Make more engaging and authentic. So the more you have fans interacting with you, the more this community grows, the more authentic your brand becomes. Respond to stories of all types of engagement, positive or negative. Because if it's negative and you're not responding, then people will believe whatever the negative is. So and it should not be cookie cutter. I see many times there'll be the same cut paste job. We are sorry this happened. Please call 1-800 so and so and we'll deal with it. Nope. It has to be specific because negative recommendations can have a deep impact on your sales. And use engagement metrics and qualitative content research for analytics. We'll talk a little bit more about analytics very quickly, but the idea is it's not just, 10,000 people liked my content or 500 people, shared my content. Look at the comments, do the qualitative analysis on top of the quantitative to get a more deeper understanding of how the engagement is going. Fourth is pitch to stakeholders using social media. Use digital tools like direct messaging to pitch important stakeholders like journalists, influencers, potential clients, investors, not just your public. but also go after these people using social media, because most social media now gives you the communication tools. Study their audience and content. So if you want to form a partnership with somebody, you want to form a sort of collaboration with somebody, see their content, see their audience. If you can prove that's going to be mutually beneficial, hey, give me access to your people and I'll give you access to mine. Now it's helping both of you. So it's not going to cost anybody. It's going to benefit both people, and they'll be more willing to share things with you. Money can help, but cost saving, sharing fans, access to rich content, all of this will also help you. So yeah, you can pay influencers or make it mutually beneficial for influencers. There's an influencer who's sitting at 900,000 people. He says, look, I've got 200,000 followers. We can share content. That way you might get half of mine. So that person will really be interested in reaching 1 million. So it's not just money. And finally, measurement becomes really important. Digital technologies make evaluation easier, faster, and more cost-effective. Mahul will remember the time when we used to do evaluation for traditional media. We had to do telephone surveys. We had to do all this advertising equivalency. It was time-consuming. It took a lot of time, and it wasn't very accurate. Now with digital, it's all there. Companies like Facebook and stuff provide their own insights. But on top of that, you have things like HubSpot and Hootsuite. There are many technologies out there which will do customized proprietary research or proprietary evaluation for your content, for your campaigns, and you will be able to tell who it went in front of, what time, tracking, all that becomes easy. So measuring campaign, you can do in the beginning, which is called benchmarking, before the campaign begins. To set benchmarks, we want this to hit so many people, we want this much engagement. During the campaign, which is called tracking, or after the campaign, which is the evaluation, to see what worked and what did not, and at what time. The key to evaluation starts with smart objectives. If you don't have the right objectives, you will not have the right evaluation. So, and evaluation is very important because companies now are becoming so cost sensitive that they want to make sure that the money that they are spending is being spent correctly. The money that they are spending is getting value, some sort of return on investment. And you'll not have that.
And dear students, sorry, Suf, I just explained to them, there's this thing, just what Suf said, Professor Sufyan said, is called return on investment, which is ROI, which is very important. Yes. See, social media is not free, as many people think it's not free. So there are campaigns that are designed, and these campaigns cost. These are targeted campaigns where you select your target audience and you run a campaign so that it reaches your target audience. And then in social media, it is possible to have metrics which can measure the impact of the campaign. So that is your return on investment. That's what Suf is talking about. Over to you, Suf.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely correct. Companies are going to say, I invested 10,000 bucks on this. What did I get in return? So there's going to be this concept of return on investment. Now, it's very difficult in PR, in digital, to tie things to sales. So you have to have ways in which you can show your bosses, many of whom are not very social media savvy, what kind of value they derive. So it's not just about returns on investment, but it's also value on investment. So that happens when you start with the right form of objectives. So objectives have to be very specific. You can't say, I will get more people to like me, because the term more doesn't mean anything. If you say we're going to increase our people who like us by 20%, now you can measure that 20% whether or not it was achieved. So specific and measurable, that's important. Achievable, be realistic. If you're at 10,000 followers, don't say we'll go to 1 million followers. Now it might be possible, but it's not going to be easy. So keep it realistic, because people above you are watching. Relevant to your brand, relevant to what your brand stands for. If you are Tanishq, for example, high-end jewelry and things like that, you don't want to create campaigns that have to do with sales and promotions and things like that, because that's not who you are. On the other hand, if you are one of the brands that tries to be a price leader like Walmart or something, then you can do things about sales and cheap and all that stuff. And time bound. It has to have a time limit that we'll do this in 6 months, in a year, because you should know when to end, right? The basics of PR remain the same, but you need to take advantage of technology or you'll be left out. Now, very quickly, I'll go over evaluation, because that seems to be the most important part of business today. Like Mahul said, ROI, this is the part of ROI or ROV, return on value on investment, or VOI, value on investment. So when you are creating campaigns or during or after, you have two ways in which you sort of understand your target audience. The proactive way before your campaign is social listening. Listen, collect data for analysis, and let that inform your marketing decisions. That is a proactive approach. A reactive approach is after your campaign, which is called monitoring. Track mentions on specific words or phrases on a social media site, trigger company responses when necessary, see what people are saying. So that's a reactive way. Both work, but you need to have both rather than just one. What matters is measured. So these are the things that are mostly measured. Now, companies want you to go to the last one, sales conversion. You want to stay above here. So you have to explain to your bosses, to your clients, that's not always about sales. It's a lot to do with the value that they derive rather than the returns that you derive. And sales, like I said, you can't measure sales in social media or PR in the short term. It's not a quarter thing. It's a year thing. It takes time for things to convert into sales. The idea is for people to understand you, get aware of you, like you, prefer you, and then buy from you. So reach is the number of people exposed to a message. You know this. Frequency is the average number of times somebody is exposed to the same message. Site stickiness is the ability for a site to draw repeat visits, how many times people keep coming back. Click-throughs is how many people see your content and click through and go somewhere else, like your website or some e-commerce place. And obviously sales conversion. This is the KPIs, which is another very important term in business now. KPI stands for key performance indicators. What is it that will tell me that I'm performing well? So KPIs is key performance indicators. And this is the marketing funnel. Now, if you know about traditional marketing, my MBA students will know, the sort of 5-step adoption process ends at purchase. So traditional marketing, the focus was sell. Once people buy, you're done. You have some customer service, but buying was the idea. And then as marketing evolved, repeat purchase, right? Loyalty became the next one. Social media added a new line, or digital media added a new line, which is advocacy. So it's not only I want you to know Coke, like Coke, think about Coke and buy Coke, Coca-Cola. I want you to repeat purchase Coca-Cola. And then on social media, if somebody talks bad about Coca-Cola, I want you to go after them and say that, no, you are wrong. Coca-Cola is better than Pepsi. So I'll go over this and then we'll talk about advocacy for a bit and then that's where I'll end. So awareness obviously is the most basic and most important thing. And if you want to measure awareness, the indicators that will tell you whether your people are getting aware of your campaign is reach, views and impressions, word of mouth mentioned, WOM stands for word of mouth, CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. How much does it cost you to get to each 1,000 person? Consideration is now you're getting into where people start looking at you versus your client or versus your competition in a better light. So it's time spent with content, number of interactions, video views completion rate, how many videos did you complete, and use of recommendation apps and reviews. You read reviews. Then, if you're good at that, you will go down to preference, where people will prefer your brand over your competition. Say, no, I know there are 5 different soft drinks available to me, but I'm going to think about Coca-Cola. So here, applause matrix, how many people like you, favorite you, give hearts. Engagement matrix, shared and interacted. And lead generation, volume and quantity. How many people actually went to a website? How many people went to some sort of e-commerce place to see, your cost and things like that? Finally, where traditional media ends, is purchases. The key performance indicators here are acquisition metrics. How many people actually acquired, new people, average sales, and cost to convert. How much it costs you to convert people to buy your product? Now, these two become more easy and more possible with social media. Loyalty is engagement over time. If you continue to engage, so not only did you drink Coca-Cola, you went and you wrote a review. Now you've become more loyal. Or you ordered again. Or I don't know, in India or in America, for example, when I buy something from Amazon, it lets me select an option which says subscribe. So if I buy, let's say I buy a shampoo. So the shampoo is, let's say, $5. I can either buy it for $5 or for $4.50. I can subscribe. If I press subscribe, every month they'll send me the shampoo. So when I hit subscribe, I become a loyal customer. It'll keep sending it. And finally, the thing that is impossible without social media is advocacy. User-generated content, how much user-generated content, reviews, ratings, how people rated you, how many people recommended you, positive word of mouth, participation in the brand and social communities, and basically talking about your brand or going and defending your brand in these chat communities, in the review sections and things like that. So that is advocacy, which is only possible through social media. All right. So I have come to the end of my presentation. Sorry, it took longer than planned.
Thank you so much. So I will now, if you have the time, so we'll go through the questions.
Absolutely, I have time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I have time.
Yeah. So I'll take the questions from the students first, and then we have time left. We will go to the teachers as well. The first question is from Kayan Khatun. She's a student of MA in journalism, second semester. So she asks, the way PR world is evolving, what does the future hold for young professionals? And what essential skills and trainings does it take to become a successful PR professional?
Can you repeat the question again, please? I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah, so she asks, the way PR world is evolving, what does the future hold for young professionals? And what essential skills and trainings does it take to become a successful PR professional?
Okay, beautiful question. So, and a very easy one. So like I said in the beginning, and like I said, most of the professors here will agree that the good news about PR is, unlike technology, the basics remain the same, right? The architecture, the basic architecture of public relations remains the same. So the future of PR is bright. Because it's not just now that you're not just like first, if you did a PR degree or you were interested in PR, you either went to an agency or you went into corporate PR, right? The PR department of a corporation. Now there's social media, there's digital media, content creation, and there is content distribution. So there is so much more availability of jobs, of careers in public relations that I think the future is extremely bright. I think, you know, there will be a shortage, at least in America, for example. It used to be that for every job that was available, the availability was 2 students per job. Now that number has come down to 1.1. So for every job availability, there's 1.1 student. So the probability of getting a job is way higher now, almost increased 40%. So that I think is happening around the world. There's also cross-border, right? I mean, many of us think like, okay, we'll do this in India. If not India, we'll go to Europe or America. But the third world countries are growing and they're paying a lot also. So you have to look at other countries that are not as advanced as America, where you can go and sort of do things. So because they're looking for professionals. So I think the future is really good. The skills that you need obviously is content creation and management. That is extremely important. You should be a good writer. You should know how to create some content. If you know graphics, like the Adobe suite, like Photoshop and design, that's amazing. If you don't, at least know how to use resources like Canva and stuff. Also, Google, HubSpot, and Hootsuite. All 3 offer free courses. Get some certifications. Like they'll give you certifications on content creation. They'll give you certification on evaluation, metrics, things like that. Absolutely go and study that. So you will need some sort of digital background, some sort of digital training. But the basics remain the same. If you are a solid writer, if you can understand people, you can understand gatekeepers, media, influencers and stuff, you'll be a successful PR person. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think Kayan, that answers your question. So the next question is from Abhirup Sengupta. He's a final year student of BA in journalism and mass communication. So the question is, and I think it's a very relevant question at that, how best to digitally handle PR in cases of extremities like Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp trial or Will Smith's Oscars fiasco?
Okay. So one of the things is in PR, there is a concept called piggybacking. So piggybacking is a concept where supposing something is popular, it's gaining media attention, jump on its back and get media attention with it, right? When 9/11 happened in America, September 11, 2001, security companies started coming up from nowhere. Nobody had thought about security. Nobody had thought about safety, but these companies started doing well. When coronavirus came up, everybody started talking about cleaning, hygiene, and things like that. So you can take advantage of something which is popular, which is piggybacking. But however, where you have to be careful is when you see the narrative, which side is it going, right? If you have to take sides, you have to be a little bit more careful. If you have to take sides on a particular issue, like the Ukraine war or something, like recently in America, they're going to pass the law that will ban abortion. So Amazon was the first company to announce that if states ban abortion, they will pay up to $4,000 to women who want an abortion and have to fly to another state to get it. So they'll pay for their flight, they'll pay for their hotel, they'll pay for their hospital, everything. Now, great, sounds amazing, good job. But hey, Amazon, 30% of Americans hate abortion. So you are alienating 30% of the people. So that is something that you have to be concerned about when it comes to taking sides or doing piggyback public relations. You have to worry about, if you're going to take a side, where does your target audience lie? Now, obviously, Amazon has done its research. They realized that there are more people who are against abortion than for abortion. So they went for that side. So that is the only sort of caveat that you have when it comes to PR, taking sides on these big issues. But it's absolutely fine to piggyback on it if you have some sort of content or some sort of campaign that is tied to what's happening. By all means, use it.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Jesu Roy Chaudhuri. He asks, which is more effective for marketing? A short content like Reels, Shorts, or we can go for long video for around 7 to 10 minutes?
So my answer is both, right? It really depends. If my target audience is younger people, I will do short form. So like right now, I'm teaching a class in my department, which is a social media campaigns class. It's the capstone class, is the last class that they take, and they have to do a big campaign for a client. So they all created their videos, and last Wednesday they showed me their videos. So each one I had told them that make 90-second videos, right? The minimum 90 seconds, maximum 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So they created those videos. I saw the videos, and then I said, okay, this section, pull it out, make a 6-second video out of it, make a 12-second video out of it, because it's different target audiences. Younger people on Instagram. Do you have TikTok there or no?
No, not really.
Okay. So younger people on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat tend to like short form videos. So for those people, and if that's your target audience, you create short form videos. But if you have a little older group, or if there's more information there, or if there's more demonstration there, then you go with YouTube videos, which are longer form. But unless you really have interesting stuff, don't go beyond 5 minutes. Nobody has that patience or that time available. Unless it's something really important, then go for it.
Right. Thank you. The next question is from Pratiti Dhang. She's again a final year student of journalism and mass communication. Her question is, so any crisis can often harm a company's reputation. What are some of the key advices or suggestions would you suggest a PR professional to handle such crisis effectively?
Okay, so this is extremely important. Crisis management is this massive topic. So crisis management has changed over the years. A couple of things have happened. So if you read your textbooks and you go to your lectures and stuff, they say everything should be planned. You do your research and planning and things like that. In crisis, all that goes out the window. So that's why generally in agencies and companies, the most experienced people handle crises because they don't have the luxury of time, the luxury of research and things like that. You have to make quick decisions. But there is a change in the way crises are being perceived by people now. Most countries, including India, is polarized. Any crisis there are sides to that crisis, right? Half the country, 2/3 of the country goes one way, 2/3 of the public goes another way. You have to see first, where is my target audience? That is the first step. Secondly, wait and see, is this something that needs my reaction? Because the other good thing that's come out of today's media landscape is short attention spans. People will talk about something. Next day, Yogi says something, somebody Islam says something, some bomb happens somewhere, forgotten. If that's happening, stay back. Don't say anything. However, if you see as the media attention grows, then you need to have your plans ready to execute instantaneously. The good news is you don't have to depend on gatekeepers as much because you have your own mouthpieces now, you have your own media to say things. So my advice is, if a crisis is critical, like life-threatening and things like that, then go out there, try to solve it as much as possible. However, if it's a news environment which has got a lot of things happening, hang back and wait to see what happens. Does the attention really come to you? And if it comes to you, how many days does it stay? Mostly one day it's gone. People are too busy and too distracted. So Trump taught us this, right? I mean, Trump is a whole PR textbook on himself. So before, like Obama, when he was the president, he wore a brown suit to the White House, to the Oval Office, a brown suit. It became news topic. He is not respecting, he's not wearing a dark suit, he's wearing a brown suit, he's so bad, he's so bad. Trump comes in and says, okay, here's a fire, here's a fire, here's a fire, here's a fire. I'll set 100 fires, you won't know what fire to look at. So Trump created this brand new narrative, right? That if there are many crises out there, nobody will pay attention to a single one. We just get confused. So you have to see the news environment and then decide your reaction. However, it is critical. If there's a crisis on the horizon or coming up, make sure that you have a plan ready to execute at moment's notice. And the good news is you don't have to depend on traditional media as much as you used to.
Right. Thank you. So these are the questions from the students. So I will move over to the teachers now. The teachers also have some questions. So Momita Dedas, she has a question. So she asks, as netizens are divulging their private data to the corporates under the garb of social networking, what will be the future of data protection or data privacy in the post-COVID era in developing countries? She specifically asks about developing countries. What are your suggestions?
So here's the thing. In developing countries, there is one sort of positive which doesn't exist in developed countries. In developing countries, governments tend to have a little bit more power than in developed countries. In America, companies can get away with a lot because of First Amendment and free speech and things like that, and which does not happen as much as, in third world countries or developing countries. You have governments which have more regulatory power. That being said, data is the next gold rush, right? Data is going to be the most valuable thing, and the more we interact online, the more we put our lives online, the more that access to data. So I don't think there'll be much happening in terms of data privacy unless governments decide for it to happen. And governments generally tend to not worry about these things so much because they also use that data for their own good. So they can't really stop other companies from using data. So yes, the good thing is, and this is what I tell students, right? I tell students, if you have Facebook, Facebook has access to your phone. Do you feel bad about it? They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, but you're putting everything about your life any which way on Facebook. It's not like, you're giving that access to Facebook. The good news is Facebook is not trying to get to know you on a personal level. They only want to get to know you as a customer. You do not matter to Facebook as a human being. You matter to Facebook as customer number, whatever number they've given you. Unless there's hacking and stuff, there is no harm in that data being shared. I hate, in America, white people love outdoor activities, fishing, hiking, and all that stuff. I hate it. I don't want to see ads for fishing and hiking and stuff, which I do on traditional TV. But on my Facebook, I only see things that I like. I enjoy that. So I'm like, okay, if they take my data and are showing me things that don't bug me, I'm fine with it. But that also affects news. Right? That same algorithm shows you news that conforms to your views. So that becomes a problem. But overall, I don't think it's changing. It will just keep getting more and more sophisticated. But we are getting more tools to control that. So for example, this morning, Instagram launched a tool where you can go and control the kind of things that you see a little bit more than you could before. So companies also trying to give you that. But overall, I think data will be there. It will be shared. It will be used. It will be abused. And it's just a new reality of life.
Right. Ms. Dedas, I think that answers your question. And there is one more question from another teacher. So Ipshita Banerjee, She asks, we often hear of paid promotions in digital marketing or inorganic followers on Facebook and Instagram. Is there any such issue in digital public relations, or is it just a hoax?
Can you repeat your question?
Sure.
You got disconnected
So we often hear of paid promotions in digital marketing or inorganic followers on Facebook and Instagram. Is there any such issue in digital public relations, or is it just a hoax?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Earlier, what people thought was that if influencers say this is paid promotion, that will actually cause a loss of credibility. Now, in America, there is no law that says you have to reveal when it's a paid promotion. There's no law. Nobody tells them to do it. But what influencers found, what research found, is when you actually say that it's a paid publication, it is considered more credible because you're being honest. So what happens is, even though the credibility of that particular content might not be high, the content that you put without paid promotion, that gets a very high credibility. So paid promotions might not help you very much organically, but they have a massive impact on your non-paid promotions. And there's no law that says which one you have to label. That's up to you. And many influencers do it to gain credibility for their non-paid stuff. That's one. Inorganic follows, what I'm understanding is where you pay to get followers and things like that. That's actually helpful because here's the thing, right? Let's say I want to learn more about painting a car. I want to learn more about painting a car. I go to YouTube and I say search painting a car tips. And I see 3 responses. I have 30, but I see the top 3. And one has 1 million followers, one has 2 million, one has 3 million. Guess which one I'm going to click?
The 2 million.
3 million.
Yeah, 3 million, yeah.
So it might not help you organically, but it'll help you get more followers. It'll help you gain that credibility that this person has a lot more, credible information, important information. That's why they have these followers. So in the short run, yes, it's going to help you. But if people have your long-term followers who see that, okay, you had 1 million followers and next day you have 2 million, now I know that you paid for them. So that will harm my credibility. So if it's growing slowly, absolutely fine. But if it grows all at once, don't do that. That will hurt you.
Right. There's one more question from Nitesh Tripathi. He's also a teacher at our department. So he asks, influencers like Elon Musk tweet something and send entire netizens into frenzy, brings down shares of a product within few hours. Is this good for market? How will it impact the industry in the long run?
What is the last part of your question, please?
Yeah, so influencers like Elon Musk tweet something and send entire netizens into frenzy, brings down shares of a product within few hours. Is this good for market? How will it impact the industry in the long run?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Now, it's good for them when you have that level of followership, and understand that Elon Musk is a unique case, that he's got people that are that advocacy side. If you remember my slide with purchasers and then advocates, you have those advocates who are his followers. If you say something bad about Elon Musk, they just start trolling you and they start coming after you like 10,000 tweets. So Elon Musk is a unique case with that frenzied kind of followership. But there are influencers who do impact. There is James Cramer, who's a big financial analyst here, who will sort of say something on a tweet and then the stock market will fall. That's just the new reality of life. It's the same as the Economics Times article about Tata maybe doing bad results and then crashing the Tata market. So it is the same principle that's being taken online. And is it good or bad? It's good for them. Like Elon Musk really uses it well. He spoke bad about Twitter for a few days. Twitter stock fell. He went and bought out Twitter. So it helps him a lot. And there are regulatory bodies like SEC and stuff, or BSES. I think in India, there's a body that looks after stocks and stuff.
Yeah,
they intervene.
SEBI. Securities and Exchange.
But the thing is, in most cases, you pay a fine and you get out of it. So that's what he does. He does bad things. SEC fines him a couple of $1 million. He gives $1 million and then he continues to do it. So that is a new business model, and that's the idea of the digital world. You have influencers who will be able to sort of impact markets, but if it becomes too much, again, the impact will go down. So it's, this goes up and goes down kind of a relationship. If it becomes too much, if Elon Musk, he does it like once every couple of months. If you watch the timing, he doesn't do more than 3 or 4 times a year that he'll impact the market. Because if he does it anymore, it will lose credibility. So But I do believe that Elon Musk is very calculative in the way he does things. And he's unique because his followers are unique.
Right. There's this flurry of questions, but I'm going to take the last one.
Take your time. No, I'm free. I can be here all day.
Okay. So this is
Anything for
another
Mahul.
question from Devanik Datta. He's a fourth semester student of BSc in Media Technology. His question is a little different. So he says, is social media somehow unjust for the artists, as people with best arts do not get enough publicity, but people with best marketing strategies do?
But then it comes to, how do you define best? Right? I went to the New York, Metropolitan Art Museum. I saw Picasso. I hated it. I'm like, what rubbish is this? Right? People pay millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for that. So how do you define best? Is best what's most popular? Is best what you believe is the best? So you have to get very practical. See, understand this. There is, to every PR professional, my students, right? When you're young, you're genetically more idealistic than when you get to my age. When you get to my age, you're a cynic. You just don't trust anything, don't do anything. You don't have faith in anything. But when you're young, you're idealistic. You have all these things, and that's great. You should hold on to that idealism for as long as possible. But draw a line between your professional self and your personal self. In your personal self, you can have things like you value art and things like that. That's beautiful. Value music. That's important. That's what makes you who you are. But when it comes to your professional side, the marketing side, you have to go with whatever the marketing principles are. So you have to decide what is good. Is something with, if you remember the song Gangnam Style, got 2 billion views. 2 billion. Is that a good song? I mean, look at him. He's this fat Korean trying to do something which I don't understand. 2 billion views. Is that good? I don't know. It is popular. He did become a millionaire because of it. So you have to define for yourself. And you can believe in something being popular good versus something being artistically good and still be fine. But this is the new world where I am better than you because I have 1 million followers and you have 500,000 followers. Not because our content is any better or worse. I mean, my content could be really bad, but I just have more followers. So, you see such good movies. They don't do well, and then you have these rubbish movies that do so well. But that's always been the sort of big debate between commercialism, marketing, and real art.
Thank you so much, Professor Baksh. Dr. Brahma, are you there?
I'm always there.
Yeah.
The correct answer
I just,
for
I was just. See, good and bad has become a very, very relative term in terms of the moment you include market. Yeah. Market demand is something that. Am I stuck?
You are stuck. Oh. Your video is stuck.
Am I audible and visible?
No, now you are.
Yeah. Okay. There's some internet glitch. So the moment you bring in market, and as a student of economics, I would always say that moment you bring in market, things change. Then the notion of good and bad, it becomes market driven, and market driven justifications are market driven justifications. The viability and non-viability of things. There is no right or wrong about it. It just works for the market. It doesn't work for the market. As I remember Suf was talking about piggybacking, and what happens when you piggyback on the right, and what happens when you piggyback on the wrong. So. Piggybacking also is a very, very dicey thing, but it's a very effective thing. It's a very effective thing. If for example, Heather is crying, and there is a tissue company that is, for your these kind of sensitive moments, and there's a tissue company which talks about that. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking aloud. It works. It works, and that's how it is. Whatever works, it works. I mean, it's hard to find justification for everything that works, but whatever works, it works, and we have to. And even in the corporate, we used to always say, as long it works, it's a good model. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. As long it works, as long it is a viable model, it's a good model, and that is the only litmus test that we do. Similarly, with social media campaigns, with PR campaigns, whatever works. We are no judge, of it.
And like I said, in your personal life, you can have those preferences, and you should.
Absolutely.
You should have a line between your professional self and your personal self.
Yes,
But
yes.
don't mix the two, otherwise you'll never
Yes,
be happy in life.
So if you like academics and you are in the corporate, you stay in the corporate and pursue academics. Don't come to academics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's true for both of us at least.
Yeah. I mean, so imagine, Suf called me when I was with the Tatas. He never called me when I joined Adamas. Why is it? No, why is it?
You're a dean now. I have to be very careful. You're so busy now. You're a big man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Over here, like my dean, I have to make an appointment to talk to her.
So I have to make an appointment with my HOD here. So, I always ask him that, are you free? And then I'll call you. So, yeah.
Anything else? I would love to, any questions, any discussions, anybody else wants to talk?
No, I think, there's a lot for them to consume. And, Suf, I can't thank you enough for.
My pleasure.
So I was just telling Sabia, my wife, that because, he has worked in the industry, the entire approach to the subject is very, very different. So there is a right mix of theory, but there is a lot of practical applications of why you're using something and why you're not using something.
Yep.
And that's very critical. And a big thanks to you. Will be great if
pleasure.
you share, your presentation, if that is possible. We will, take a session with your. So we have recorded the session. We will put it up on YouTube. And for the students who have not been able to join today, we will play it for them. Have a screening for it with the presentation. And we
do you want me to email you the PowerPoint? I didn't hear you.
Yeah. You just email it to me, and I'll share it.
Sure.
And
also, Mahul, if anybody wants to talk to me one-on-one,
I will
please share my contact information.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll do that. I'll try to get Amir one day to, for a session. I'll reach out to him. Let him come back from his holiday.
Yeah.
I will reach out to him if he can have a session.
Amir, actually, Amir, I live in this little town called Scranton, which is 100 miles away from New York City. Right. And Amir actually came here he stayed with me for a couple of days, and then he came to my college and he gave a lecture. And I keep telling my friends, I said, this is how you know you have true friends. If I lived in New York, I don't know whether people are coming to visit me or just coming to see New York. But if you're coming to this little town somewhere, you have to be a friend,
course.
So it's like, there's no other reason you'll be here, So.
No, of course. So I am a fellow at Bath, in a Bath Spa University. Yeah. And my colleague Shunan, he will be visiting Bath Spa. So similarly, my friend Shumon is there. So if in the next, whenever I get, I go on my own for a Europe trip and I drop at Bath Spa, then Shumon will know I've come for him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and why would you come to Bath? You tell me, you're on a Europe trip. Why would you come to Bath? You come to Bath for him.
So that's the thing, yeah.
So I know what you are talking about.
Dr. Sunayan, thank you so much. Thank you for moderating and thank you for your time. I know I went a little over the time limit, but I really enjoyed myself.
No, it was fabulous. It's fabulous. Very engaging.
And happy to do this anytime, Mahul, Dr. Sunayan, anything. Happy to come in. I love talking, as you know. So I'll be happy to come in and do this anytime.
That's a part and parcel of our
teaching.
Yeah. So thank you, Suf. Thanks so much for that. Thank you, dear students. For being there, and I hope you've had your questions responded. If there are any more questions, please write to Dr. Shunan. We'll get it answered for you by Professor Baksh, and we will try to give you the best of the industry and the best of the academia, and for you. So thanks so much, Suf.
One last thing, Mahul and Dr. Sunayan. In the future, if you want to do just a session where we have a discussion like this, that can also be, because most of the things I taught, I obviously know that they all know that. There's nothing new in that information. But I think this discussion, question answers are
we can actually so we can do a round table with maybe one or two students and me and Shunan and somebody else and you on we'll pick up a topic. If it's a round table where students can join in and share their thought processes, maybe in a similar live session where they can just unmute themselves and talk, that'll be great. So we'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, faculty members. Thanks, students. Thanks, Shuf, for your time. And take care. Take care. Have a good night. So I'm ending this meeting.